Okay, today we're going to be looking at how to make great ribs very simply and easily. Big crowd pleaser. Have your own rib fest. We shop at Costco for ribs. You get 3 slabs in a cryovac pack. Easy prep for getting your ribs going. Just a simple cutting open of the cryovac. Got plenty of paper towels handy because you want to clean these bad boys up before you start adding your spices. So lots of paper towels come in handy in this step. Just pat them and stack them. Alright, so once you get the juices off there that came in the package, you're ready to apply the oh so simple rub, which is nothing other than generous amounts of salt and pepper. Believe it or not, that's all we've ever used, and they've always turned out incredibly well. Once the ribs are patted down dry, make sure you have stopped and picked up some heavy-duty aluminum foil. And what we tend to do is take each rack of ribs and cut it into 3 parts. So if you got a 3-pack, that means you're going to have 9 servings of 1/3 of a rack each. And the preparation starts with having the foil set aside, because this is how they bake in the oven for a couple hours, wrapped up in this foil. Alright, be generous with the foil. You want to be able to wrap this thing up very tightly. Next, you want to get yourself a good sharp knife and do the work of splitting each rack of ribs into 3. Now each rack usually has 14 or 15 ribs, and this is all just eyeballing it, judgment call. Just get in between the ribs with your knife and come up with about 1/3. And again, this will vary a little bit. Each rack of ribs is slightly different, but they're pretty easy to cut through. If you're going through and between 2 ribs, you won't touch bone or have to cut bone. Yeah, my stepfather was a butcher. He taught me this stuff. The next part is just seasoning and wrapping up tightly in the foil to prep for going into the oven. We like to use kosher salt, liberally salt both sides of the rib. Get some pepper, same thing, pepper on each side. Center it nicely in the foil. Roll it up at the top, and make sure you crimp it and tighten it up so it's airtight on each side. This is the little pouch that each section of rib looks like before going into the oven. So surprisingly, not a whole bunch of different weird spices. Some people get into dry rubs, that's fine. But we get our flavor later from all the sauce and finishing on the grill once they're completely cooked over a couple of hours in the oven at very slow temperature. Again, this is simple, but it's important to keep it really tight. Let all the juices stay in here when it's cooking. Some people parboil them. I've never understood that concept, why you'd want to stick a perfectly good piece of meat in boiling water, but we have found that this method of slow heat over a couple hours is what really makes some super tender ribs. By the way, getting the ribs at Costco can save you a ton of dough if you're having a big party, because they sell there for about $3 a pound, and you get 3 full racks of ribs for about $30. And you can feed, well, depending on how hungry people are, we've fed 8 or 9 people just from that 3 racks of ribs. So just repeat this process and get everything all wrapped up in foil.
I'm sure.
All right, once all of your ribs are wrapped up tightly in foil, just get yourself a couple of baking pans. Stack these ribs up on the baking pan. Sometimes you can get 3, 4, 5 on a sheet. That's it, and you're just going to put them in the oven, a 250 to 275 oven, depending how many ribs you have. We're going with 275 today because we've got a bunch of ribs, and depending on the size of your oven as well. These pans, just go in and set your timer for 2 to 2.5 hours, and we'll come back at you with the results after these babies come out of the oven. Okay, here are the packets of ribs that have already been in the 275 oven for 2.5 hours. We are ready to take them out and getting ready for the next step, putting them on the grill. I usually unload them into a deep aluminum full-size tray, just because once you start opening up those foil packets, a lot of the juice starts to flow and it can go all over the place if they're not in a big pan. Okay, the ribs are fully cooked in their foil containers after 2.5 hours in the oven. Now it comes time for some fun. The sauce. On the south side we used to call it just mumbo sauce, but here we have a nice variety from Stubbs of Austin, Texas. We always get this stuff because there's no high fructose corn syrup and it tastes really good. He's got a couple flavors. Obviously he's got original sweet heat and sticky sweet. And what we usually do is we just mix 2 together to start. That's it. Just empty one. And take the second one. What's the second one? Sweet heat. That's nice. And this 2 jars of sauce usually will take care of 3 racks of ribs. Give it a nice whisk mix. Now here's the secret that makes a big difference. When you open up these packets that have been hopefully sealed tightly, you're going to find the secret ingredient for our sauce, and that is the juice from the ribs. Now, usually we put a couple of these, you'll see it's in the, I don't know if you can tell it's going in there, but that's real nice stuff to add into your sauce. Take another one, open it up, be careful, these are hot, obviously. See if there's any juice in that one. Not much of that one. Find one with some more. Oh yeah, here we go. You just pour that rib juice right into your sauce. Woo, that's hot. Give it a nice stir. Mix that rib juice in with the Stubbs. And since we got, so the next step is just to carefully unwrap the cooked ribs. Remember, they're hot, from the their foil packets they've been in for the last couple hours, and move that rib sections over into a fresh pan to be ready to take to the grill. So again, if we did this right, there's 9 or 10 of these old packets that are hot. Gotta be careful with them. And then move those, oh, they're done, nicely done. Move them over to a fresh pan. Now you see, I'm using my fingers. I don't know what the rule is at your house, but they're gonna go on the grill at a couple hundred degrees, so no worries. Nice. Get that in there. And these are all fully cooked, but saucing is next, and that's a lot of fun. Oh yeah, look at those, all ready to go. Wow, hot. Okay, boys and girls, here's where the fun starts to happen. I'm old-fashioned, Neanderthal. I like charcoal. I guess a gas grill could work as well. But I load up my Weber with coals, give it a quick spray of some, I use avocado oil, just to kind of make the surface of the grill a little less sticky. And then it becomes a mad rush to get your 3 slabs of ribs on this griddle top. Remember, the ribs are already cooked. We're just going for the sauce step, which will turn into, as you see, what we call sauce and flip. We got our nice big bucket of sauce here. Great brush. Love this brush. And because the flame is relatively hot, you don't want to keep these things on there too long. But you just want to sauce them up really good. And basically you're going to see we're going to go into like a sauce and flip mode and try to get that sauce to caramelize without burning. That's the goal. Okay, here we go. Flip. 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 Now this fire's probably a little bit too hot. I ran out of coals and I added new ones, and it might just be a little bit too hot. Don't make that rookie mistake. And we're going to sauce it up. Woo! That smells good. Sauce it up. Sauce it up. Lots of sauce. Sauce it up. Remember, even though that other side's just been a minute, you gotta go back around and turn them again. Don't want that stuff to burn too much. Starting to come apart a little bit. That's perfect. That means they're going to fall right off the bone. Coming down. That's a big fat one. Sauce them up again. Keep it going. Just so you know, these are spare ribs. The next batch I bring out are baby back. Spare ribs are favored by some because they're meatier and fattier. Some say a little chewier. It's all up to you. Spare ribs, back ribs, it's all ribs. Immediately go into another flip mode. And once this fire settles down a little bit, look at that. On the one in the middle, too hot there. what's nice with a standard Weber is that you can fit 3 racks of ribs right on the surface. Alright. And I usually go for 3 to 4 turns. I'm going to stop after this one. Fire is just a little too hot. And this is even better as a 2-man job. One person doing the saucing and one person doing the flipping, and both people doing the drinking. And after just a couple minutes on the grill top of flipping and saucing, get these babies back in the pan. You can see some are thicker than others. That's what you know, when you cook ribs, something's going to be huge like this. They're all not the same thickness. That fire's hot. Okay, here's part 2, baby backs. The last batch were spare ribs. These baby backs, you can tell, are different because they're got kind of like a curved arch to them. Call them like Fred Flintstone version. They're supposed to be more tender, but it's up to the rib eater. We'll do the same concept. Chef always gets a taste. Man, is that good. Okay, let's go. Sauce, sauce, sauce. Plenty of stubs. Oh yeah. Plenty of stubs. Slather it on there, nice and thick. This big brush comes in handy. Hopefully you can find one of these. Oh yeah. Don't wait. Flip. Just do a nice flip. These are nicely done. See, they're already coming apart. That's when you know you pat them in the oven just the right amount of time. Now you can see how this would be better as a 2-man job, because the sauce would be on all these already if there was a second guy saucing it up. Alright, time to waste. Flip.
okay. So now I see what it kind of looks like after the third or fourth turn. That sausage is caramelizing right on top there. Nice little crispy finish after being steamed inside the foil for 2.5 hours. Great combo.
Okay.
Here we go, 3 slabs of baby backs, ready to go.